Alright, so in the last video we added validation to our form. We used the bootstrap is a invalid class to add a red border around the field, and we also used the invalid feedback to add a text to the field. So we have this: first name is required, last name is required, and the age is required. So we are just validating in this tutorial just to the make sure that the fields are required. But you can also do other kinds of validation. If you want to dive into form validation, I would suggest you to look at this library. It's called Ng2 Validation, and with this you can see a lot of things that you can validate towards. These are the built-in ones for Angular, so you can validate the min length. You make sure that the number of characters entered is has a minimum length or a maximum length, and we've seen how to use the required one. And you can also use a regular expression pattern, and you have a lot of custom validators in these libraries that you can use. You can do validation for things like your phone number. You can do for a date, an email, a URL, so much more. So I would recommend this library, and it's just similar to what we did in the video. So you add your field here, ng model, and then you add the type of validation that you want. In our case we used required, and then you're going to put this the error, and it's going to show the error message just like we did in the video. So I encourage you to go into this if you want to do a lot of validation. But in this video we'll be adding the Toastr library so that we get a nice notification when there are some errors with our form. And for us to install Toastr, we're going to install it like this, and we also need Angular animations added, and we're just going to follow the setup here from npm and add it to our project. So let's get started. So I'm going to just copy this because that's the first thing we want to install, ngx Toastr. So I'm going to copy it and go to our project. Just going to open it. Yeah, so this is our project from where we left off in the last video. I'm going to add a new terminal here, and I'm going to paste that command to install the toast notification to our project. So I'm going to do that. And also the next thing we want to do is we want to bring in the animation. So I'm going to install animation to the project. I'm going to paste that, save, and after that we want to add the toast CSS to our project. You can do it this way, or an easier way to do it is just to add it from your node modules. Okay, so if I go back to the project and I go to the node modules, and now we're looking for the toast that we just installed, or Toastr, and we want to go to wow, this is not so easy to find. So if you search the node module, you'll find ngx Toastr here, and here we have the CSS file that we want to copy. So it's toastr.css. So here we can copy the relative path, and then we can go to the angular.json, and just the same way we added bootstrap at the beginning, we want to add that same class, that same CSS file to our styles. So I'm just going to paste the relative part here, open a quote and paste it there, but not the old one. So I don't want the old .css, I just want .css, just like you have it on the documentation. So let's head back to the documentation here. So it was just toastr.css, and the next thing we want to import the toastr module and the browser.animation module, and then we add that to our imports as well. So I'm going to copy this and I head over to the app.module.ts file here, and we're going to add our imports, and then we want to add the browser animation module. So I'm going to say browser animation module, and then we also want to add the toastr module, not toastr module dot for root, like so, and we want to take away this toast because we just need the toastr module. I'm going to save this, and if we go back, our last step is just to use it. So we import it from Toastr service and we add it as a dependency, and we can use the methods there. So where do we want to use it in our project? We want to show if there's an error when we want to save the player. So I'm quickly going to add it to our add component here, and let's import it right here, Toastr service. Let's add it as a dependency. So I'm going to say private Toastr service, you can call it whatever you want, and here Toastr service, and here this is where we are adding the player. So we want to check if what is coming from the form is invalid. So I'm going to say f.invalid. If that is invalid, then we want to display a toast that will say this dot toastr service. Then we want to show an error message, so we do dot error, and we can say something that there are some issues with the form, and if there is no error, before we navigate back or after we navigate back, we want to show the toastr message, and we want to do a success, and we can say new player added successfully. Okay, so let's save this and try it out and see if it's gonna work. Alright, so I saved it, and because we changed some settings on the angular .cli, we need to run the build again for our application. I think I'm running it. Let's just try it here, ng serve. Okay, let's check it on the browser, see if it works. We have our player app here, and what happens if we try to submit? Oh, new player added. There are some errors with the form. We don't get our toast notification, so we still have some issues with the class. Let's try to fix that. So for us to fix that issue, we need to check and make sure our toast module is added properly in our app module, and we are importing from NGX Toastr. And for our angular.json, we need to make sure that we have the CSS imported correctly. And one last thing, in our component, if we go to add player component.ts, we need to check if the form is invalid. We add this error message like so, and if it's valid, then we add this nice message to show that we've added a new player. And we are importing the Toastr service from here, NGX Toastr, and then we are adding it using dependency injection here in the constructor. Alright, so let's test it in the browser and see if it's working now. So if I save it and then I go back to the browser, and now we have our nice form here, and if I try to submit it, we get this message that says there are some issue with the form. And if we add a new player, let's say we want to add Lionel Messi, and his age 33, country Argentina, position forward, and if we submit, we get this nice toast notification, new player added. So our toast notification is working. The next thing we want to do is we want to work on the delete, so that I'll be able to delete these empty fields that we have added here. Another thing you can do as a task for yourself is to add validation to the edit form. So it's same thing what we did for the add player. I won't be doing that because that will be like repeating myself. So if we go to the edit, you can add the validation here. We already have it here, so it's the same thing. Alright, so in the next video we're going to work on this delete button and delete when we want to delete the player. See you in the next video.